I'm Simon Priff, the Vice President of Trust and Security Research at IDC Asia Pacific. And I'm here to welcome you to a three-part cybersecurity podcast where we're going to cover the topics of the top cyber challenges of today, the impact of these cybersecurity challenges upon security leadership, and digital transformation, and the importance of trust. Joining me in this series, I am delighted to welcome Mr. Takashi Amano, who is the General Manager, Cybersecurity Center, Toshiba Corporation, and Technology Executive and CISO, Toshiba Digital Solutions Corporation, where he currently leads research and development for artificial intelligence and cybersecurity technology for cyber physical systems. After leading development for hardware, software, and cloud service for consumer devices such as mobile, PC, tablet, and TV. Welcome, Amano-san. I'm also pleased to welcome Kumar Ritesh, the founder and CEO of Cyfirma. Ritesh joined a national intelligence agency earlier in his career and rose to lead the cyber intelligence and counterterrorism department before his foray into the commercial sector. During his time with the agency, he had the opportunity to lead cybersecurity strategies at geopolitical levels and contributed to national efforts to keep cyberspace safe for all. Today, Ritesh is the founder and CEO of Cyfirma, a cyber intelligence company with operations in Singapore, Japan, India, and the US. Ritesh founded Cyfirma in 2017 after a stint with a global mining company as their global head of cybersecurity. Welcome back to our third episode in the series. In this episode, we'll be discussing cybersecurity through the lens of digital transformation and the importance of trust. Amano-san, the world is going through a massive transformation in the way we work, live, and play. What sort of transformation do you think security and business leaders need to undergo in order to thrive in a post-pandemic world?
Okay, so Japanese organizations were famous for its conservative business environment, compared to the Western entities. But even we were forced to adapt to the new norm under COVID pandemic. We consider that traditional perimeter security no longer serve purpose based on our digitally connected business environment. Considering the rapidly changing situation, zero trust should be the basis for security and business leaders. From the point of forward and doubting the obvious will be key to success, I think.
Great. Now that's good to hear. Thank you very much. And yes, whilst you were conservative, we've all been forced into this new world, whether we like it or not. Ritesh, your perspective on that transformation of security and business leaders, what do you think people need to be embracing in the post-pandemic environment?
A great question there, Simon. And I'll answer this twofold, right? Let's understand, first of all, external threat landscape, the way things have changed. And then let's look at, some of the changes which are required by business leaders. Right now, if you look at our current situation, you heard from Amano-san, multi-phase ransomware attacks. Gone are those days where, ransomware groups used to infiltrate into organizations, they used to encrypt, and they used to demand ransoms, right? Today, they've gone into a threefold approach where they are naming and shaming as well. And quite honestly, that is pushing organizations to be a little bit more flexible in paying them back. And this has become a pretty interesting business propositions for cyber criminals. You have multi-morph, cyber attacks where, a malware will get into the organization and they change based on the environmental factor as they go. The same malware can have different heads. And we have seen multiple cases of those coming up too. Again, as I said earlier, defect, very, very actually invasive way cyber criminals are looking at actually using that. New technology adoption. Simon, I've seen multiple cases where new technologies are actually embraced by cyber criminals faster than the defenders. Emergence of your new threat actors in this part of the world, especially, an increase of state-sponsored activities are again driving, a lot of attention towards organizations and was as well as interest of cyber criminals, right, towards organizations in this part of the world. And then you have got a new ecosystem which has been created in the last couple of months since we have been going through this whole pandemic, which is your hackers for hire, which has become a pretty lucrative business. You have now ease of becoming a hacker as an alternate career is really booming. We continue to see that all the time. Young professionals, disgruntled professionals jumping into this bandwagon and trying to actually capitalize on this. Now, let's try to understand, some of those corrective actions, which I think cybersecurity leaders as well as business leaders should be looking at actually taking, right? I would say again, try to understand your external threat landscape. Very important, and try to apply that into your cyber posture management as well as your operation. Look at making your cybersecurity strategy agile because it can't be a static strategy. Again, if you're going through a digital transformation, use some of those base fundamental, which is security by design, defense in depth, zero trust, as Amano-san and yourself highlighted there. Never decouple cybersecurity from digitization, please. That's very important. And then the last point is especially, when you are starting with your digital aspiration, start looking at cybersecurity early. Now, we say always apply a shift left approach to your development, your project, your program management, which is very, very important.
Sure. I'm curious, in your role, Ritesh, do you think that the C-suite across the region is fully aware of the impact of cyber criminals and the success of that criminal industry?
I think, the reality is, Simon, we always keep seeing this wall. If there is a peer pressure, if you see, organization, let's say I'm in a financial institution, and if I see a financial institution being attacked, yeah, the reflection of that is quite wide and it is quite faster. But if something happening in other industries, I don't think so. We are taking those sort of nuances or those sort of insights quite actively into our cyber posture management, which needs to happen. I'm very sure we will reach that stage. And surely, CISOs from this part of the world, business leaders from this part of the world have clearly started to understand why cybersecurity plays such an important role in their business aspiration.
It's good to hear. So as Amano-san said, it's like take the zero trust approach. As you said, the shift left, make sure you're embedding security in everything we do, and tie it back to the business. Make sure the business is driving this and not relying on the IT team to manage this all the way through. I think that's the way forward. So in cybersecurity, we often talk about zero trust. We talk a little bit about zero trust, but all economic activity is underpinned by trust. And as we understand the importance of digitalization, the need to demonstrate trust in this environment is critical to the ongoing process. So Amano-san, could you please share with us your thoughts on how risk, security, compliance, privacy, and even ethics and social responsibility could play a role in building trust among stakeholders?
Okay, Simon, thank you. So in the world of zero trust, I feel that it is an imperative responsibility of each organization is consider how to win trust from clients and external parties. When discussing about zero trust, we first think of technology such as authentication methods, which may improve security controls. But in our new norm, it is more important to demonstrate and guarantee safety of the organization as part of a social infrastructure to gain trust.
No, I totally agree. We're seeing more and more examples of consumers looking at the full breadth of trust when they're deciding whether or not they're going to work with organizations, and even ethics and social responsibility coming into it. But if we come back to the areas of risk, privacy, and security, Ritesh, I mean, what advice could you give organizations on where they should be focusing themselves and what they should be thinking about?
Yeah, I'm going to start actually at a philosophical level. Trust is very precious, and I mean it in every sense of the word, quite honestly, right? Trust needs to be earned. And this means when we start with, trust enablement, you always start with zero trust. And then over the time, you grant more access to selected applications, data, systems, environment, teams, individuals, right? We need to figure out a way to show effective, demonstrable risk management to grow trust between systems, process, and people. I think one of the area which I have seen continuously in my previous life and in my new life, Simon, we do not go about actually, presenting the risk in the right way. Either it is very technically presented or it is very vague in nature. And when you're building a trust ecosystem, you need to combine, risk on systems, process, and people together. So it plays a very, very important role there, right? Your secure exchange of access right, your information between people, process, system, and data, again, helps you to achieve your cohesive, trusted environment. So you need to build trust towards your environment nowadays. And I always actually flip this other way around, right? Consider how security and compliance can be used to reduce the untrust. Because the way environment has been created because of everything else which has been going on, I think there is a clear need for us to now, we have reached that pinnacle where, everything is untrusted. And we need to start trusting the environment a little bit. And how do we actually enable security and compliance to push that agenda? You've got privacy, again, a very, very important tower, right? We need to have a comprehensive privacy management to build the trust in our digital normal, right? Again, we have seen organizations where, organizations have gone out enabling their digital imperatives without really looking at closely, how they are actually managing the data itself. It is not about the security of the data. It is about the quality of the data and what sort of quality of data is being processed. So that's why privacy management is so very important for your digital normal. And lastly, your ethics and your social responsibility should be driven to drive your human connection. I think, in this chaotic world of cybersecurity, Simon, I'm going to be super honest, we are missing out that human connection element. And unless and until you have that human connection element, you're not going to get to that trust factor. And that's why it's so very important to apply that.
Now, I think you make an amazingly strong point there. As organizations think about organizational trust, they tend to think in terms of technology and risk avoidance and compliance. But it's people connecting with people. We have to embed the trust in our employees because they're talking to our customers and partners. And frankly, if I suffer a data breach personally, I want to hear from the organization that lost my data, not read about it in the newspaper. So I think there's something you said in a previous episode, where there's more needs to be done to talk about breaches when they happen, how they happen. So very, very insightful. So thank you very much. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for joining us for the past 3 episodes, where we talked about the top cyber challenges of today, the impact of these challenges on cybersecurity leadership, and just now where we ended with digital transformation and the importance of trust. We hope this has been really useful and informative to you. Thank you very much. Amano-san, thank you. And Ritesh, thank you too.
Thank you so much for having us here.